Gökberk Yıldırım's new romance rumor has the internet buzzing again, and this time the outcry isn't just about who he might be seeing, it's about a supposed copycat. Welcome to Turkish series stars, and if you love following the twists behind your favorite celebrities, make sure you subscribe and stick around, because today's story has set social media ablaze with claims of lookalikes, hidden messages, and a storm of old feelings that refuse to fade. Is it really Seamra Arda, or someone trying to be her? That's the question that exploded across timelines after whispers spread that Gökberk had been getting close to a lifestyle influencer and model. Almost instantly, the comparisons started pouring in, same soft waves in her hair, a familiar shade of nude gloss, similar angles, similar sunlight, even the same serene beachside poses that once drove Seamra's followers wild. Screenshots landed side by side, and people began to say, with growing certainty, it's the same one. Let's rewind. We all remember when Gökberk Yıldırım and Seamra Arda ruled the conversation. Their on-set chemistry spilled into real life, and suddenly every candid moment, every intertwined hand on a street corner, each dizzy smile from behind-the-scenes videos was dissected and adored. For months, they were the couple everyone believed in. Then came the quiet unfollow, the carefully worded statements about focusing on work, and the softer, lonelier uploads. After that, a big question hovered. Who would stand next to Gökberk next? And that's where a familiar pattern reappeared. An influencer entered the chat, no names, just a surge of photos from destinations that felt déjà vu, a pink sundress against a glittering shoreline, a sun hat tilted just so. Right next to it, fans posted Seamra's iconic Maldives picture from last year, same sea salt glow, identical palette, that very particular gaze over the shoulder. Coincidence, said some. Calculated, said many more. The comments took on a life of their own. One camp insisted the resemblance was intentional, down to the lipstick shade, another countered that people can overlap in taste without scheming. But the internet rarely does gentle. Threads spiraled, DMs were forwarded like evidence, and timelines became battlegrounds. Seamra's fandom rallied, repeating what they've always believed, she doesn't follow trends, she sets them. Others defended the new woman's right to evolve her style without being accused of chasing someone else's aura. Then came the sightings. Gökberk was reportedly seen at places where he once showed up arm in arm with Seamra, a certain minimalist cafe, a late-night rooftop with a view that became the couple's silent signature. Eyewitnesses claimed he was laughing with someone who looked like a page from Seamra's lookbook. The whispers grew into a chorus. Was a new storyline being staged against the backdrop of an old one? Through it all, Seamra kept her calm. She didn't engage directly, but she didn't need to. Out of nowhere, a post appeared on her feed, "Be yourself." The caption ended there, clean, sharp, and unmistakable. Her millions saw it as a statement, a reminder of the persona they'd always admired, unbothered, strategic, elegant. Comment sections lit up with hearts and fire emojis. She said nothing, and yet it felt like she had said everything. Meanwhile, the influencer at the center of the storm went live to push back. She smiled, breathed, and said she doesn't imitate anyone, that inspiration is something all women share, that she respects Seamra and admires countless creative women, but her style is her own. The internet did what it always does, it tied her words into knots. If she praised Seamra, it was proof she'd studied her. If she didn't, it meant she was dodging. Every answer was a trapdoor leading to another chorus of speculation. There's a truth we've watched unfold over the last few years. Influencers are no longer just people, they're brands. And brands are built on consistency. The audience memorizes details, the particular way a scarf is tied, the tilt of a wrist, a signature silhouette. When timelines blur, people pounce. It doesn't help that the stakes are higher when the orbit includes a leading man like Gökberk, who has a fandom that never left and a love story that never really stopped trending. At an event, flashing lights and microphones pressed forward. Finally, we heard from him. Gökberk said he isn't dating anyone right now. He said most of what circulates online is noise, that he respects Seamra and prefers to keep his private life away from the hands of gossip. His voice was calm, the kind of collected tone he uses when he wants the story to end. But this is the internet. A soundbite is never the epilogue. For some, it settled the matter. For others, it was just a carefully laid stepping stone to the next post. On social media, the battle lines remained. People wrote that no one could replicate what he had with Seamra. They called her irreplaceable, original, the benchmark. Others asked a practical question: when did we start punishing women for sharing the same palettes and sunlit backdrops? The debate turned into a referendum on individuality and influence, art and algorithm, admiration and imitation. Fashion accounts poured gasoline on the conversation. One comparison thread dissected hair gloss levels, accessory choices, and the neutrals both women favored over the last year. The verdict they teased: an 85% overlap in aesthetic choices, by their own ever-mysterious metrics. The number flew around like a smoking gun. Screens were flooded with side-by-sides and captions that suggested the line between inspiration and imitation had burned away. Seamra's fans launched their own counter-campaign. They revived hashtags celebrating authenticity, curated montages of her most iconic outfits, and reminded the world that she had set these notes long before the current moment. Through all of it, Seamra maintained her signature hush. No drama, no direct callouts, just the occasional picture that felt effortless and immaculately timed, as if to say, I don't need to raise my voice to be heard. The truth about virality is simple: it rarely descends alone. With every new post, the past returned. Clips of Gökberk and Seamra smiling between takes resurfaced, fan edits scored to nostalgic music climbed back into the feed, and comments pleading for a reunion threaded beneath anything they both so much as liked. The internet has a long memory, especially when it comes to couples it never stopped shipping. So what was the influencer's objective? Some analysts argued it was a calculated visibility play. Proximity to a star like Gökberk can move needles that months of hard content can't touch. Others painted it as rotten luck, a stylistic overlap that accidentally triggered a fandom's most protective instincts. But once a label attaches itself, imitator, pretender, copy, it's nearly impossible to peel it away cleanly. Behind the curtain, the calculus may be simpler. Seamra is one of those rare figures whose presence informs the room, whose choices ripple across screens as suggestions rather than commands. When someone even remotely resembles that presence, people react. And when that resemblance brushes against the edges of a story they once adored, they react louder. Whether this was strategy or happenstance, everyone agrees the conversation isn't ending soon. Some moments echoed a little too perfectly. A cafe corner that used to host low-key afternoon dates became the backdrop for a new set of laughter. An old song from a soundtrack they once shared played in a gym story. Even the caption rhythms felt familiar, short and clean, like a signature you can spot across the room. Fans broke down timelines with forensic attention, pointing out overlap after overlap as if charting constellations. But here's the part that matters: Seamra never lost her ground. She didn't respond to a single jab, didn't adjust a single pose to meet the drama halfway. She posted, worked, lived, and moved. That might be why her supporters cling so fiercely to the belief that the original always wins. Not because no one else can wear a pink dress by a blue sea, but because you can't upload aura. And Gökberk? He played it careful, as if he's learned how easily a casual outing can become a headline. He smiled, deflected, did the job he was there to do. You could sense the boundary he was fighting to keep, a line between the scenes in his career and the stories people want to write around him. It's hard to be both a heartthrob and a private soul, but he keeps trying. The fan moralists came out in force. Some pleaded for empathy, reminding everyone that style is a collage we build from what we love. Others said, context is everything, and this context is loud. Mixed in were voices who just missed the days when the feed felt simple: two people in love, sunlight, no subtext. This saga highlights an uncomfortable truth of the influencer economy. attention is a currency and a test. It can enrich your reach and impoverish your reputation in one stroke. And once the audience believes they've seen a shadow where there should be a self, they'll hunt for it in every frame you post. Of course, not everything is a conspiracy. Sometimes an ocean is just an ocean, a dress just a dress. But timing is a powerful editor. When a familiar image reappears in connection with a familiar man, the audience stitches the narrative for you. The result is a story that looks inevitable, even if it isn't true. As the days stretched on, the temperature didn't drop. Screenshots of the live, of the quote, of the cafe, of the rooftop, got pinned and repinned. New followers gathered around both women, some to defend, some to drag, most just to witness. The algorithm did what it always does when it detects friction, it amplified. Then, a quieter turn. Seamra uploaded a behind-the-scenes clip from a set, work, lights, laughter, and turned the conversation toward craft. It was subtle, almost a guideline for how she wished to be seen. In the margins, the fashion pages carried on with their comparisons, but the core of her audience followed her cue and moved forward. Will any of this lead to a clear answer? Probably not. The intrigue that clings to Gökberk and Seamra has always thrived on things left unsaid. The more carefully they speak, the more those silences glow. Perhaps that's why the public never tires of them. Together or apart, they create a story everyone wants to interpret. So what happens next? Maybe the influencer finds a lane that suits her better, one that feels less like an echo and more like a signature. Maybe the rumors fizzle and the next big talking point steals the spotlight. Maybe, and this is the fantasy that refuses to retire, Gökberk and Seamra share a frame again and set the feed on fire. For now, the only constants are the memories that keep returning and the audiences that keep refreshing. And there, between nostalgia and possibility, lives a space where two people still hold enormous power over how the rest of us feel on a random Tuesday afternoon. Tell me what you think. Is this a case of imitation or a string of coincidences framed by the internet's need for patterns? Should Gökberk be dragged into every comparison just because his name lights up the room? Or is this exactly what happens when public love stories end and the archive remains? Your thoughts keep this conversation alive, and we'll be here to follow every twist with care. You're watching Turkish Series Stars. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and turn on notifications so you'll be the first to know when the next chapter drops. This story isn't over, it's just between beats.